Good evening, I'm Susan Ormiston, and this is The National. Murky pronouncements on North Korea spread uncertainty and anxiety, but one thing's clear, Iran is also in Donald Trump's sights.
I believe they're doing things with North Korea that is totally inappropriate.
Spaniards implore a separatist state not to go. Tomorrow, it may declare independence. More senior staff quit the inquiry into missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. Plus, Ukrainian journalists investigate a colleague's assassination.
We cannot exclude that police could be linked with this murder.
Whenever there are threats of nuclear war, ambiguity is the enemy of a secure peace. And with North Korea this weekend, U.S. President Donald Trump has been trafficking in statements both ominous and cryptic. Today, a top White House aide said Trump's message is clear. Military options are on the table. Whether Trump is still considering options besides war at this point is still dangerously ambiguous. Ellen Morrow is tracking the story.
President Trump had a question of his own for reporters this weekend.
Do people ever rest?
Hard to rest, though, when trying to decipher cryptic comments from the commander-in-chief. The latest came yesterday. President Trump slamming past diplomacy toward North Korea on Twitter, writing sorry, but only one thing will work, but refusing to say what that one thing is.
What's the one thing that'll work with North Korea? Well, you'll figure that out pretty soon.
Whether President Trump was referring to military action is unclear. And when dealing with Kim Jong-un, that lack of clarity could have dangerous consequences.
When President Trump sends out messages like that, which are very, in fact, reckless at this point in terms of provoking North Korea, it leaves North Korea to even retaliate more.
Trump's tweets came just days after these ominous words as he stood alongside military leaders. He again refused to clarify what he meant.
What storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
Some have dismissed this as the president's penchant for dramatic soundbites, teasing the media with a cliffhanger that could amount to nothing. But there's speculation he may have been referring to Iran. The administration is expected to decertify the Iranian nuclear deal later this week, forcing Congress to decide whether to reimpose sanctions against the regime. Trump says Iran and North Korea are linked.
I believe they're trading with North Korea. I believe they're doing things with North Korea that is totally inappropriate. Iran is a bad player, and they will be taken care of as a bad player.
An Iranian military commander called the Trump government's behavior stupid, warning it against imposing any new sanctions. There are also fears North Korea may be planning another provocation, possibly a missile test in the coming days.
And so while the president plays coy, leaving the world in the dark about these unsettling comments, the tension between the U.S. and two of its biggest adversaries only grows. Ellen Morrow, CBC News, Washington.
In the Trump era, NFL Sundays have become a weekly showcase of America's political divide. And today, the White House had stadium seats, briefly. Vice President Mike Pence attended the 49ers-Colts game, standing proudly for the U.S. anthem, but about a dozen players weren't, part of the ongoing protest against racial injustice and increasingly the Trump presidency. Pence left shortly after the anthem, tweeting, "I left today's Colts game because the president and I will not dignify any event that disrespects our soldiers, our flag, or our national anthem." Trump himself followed up by tweeting that Pence was following his instructions, a kind of emissary of presidential displeasure. Kneeling during the national anthem was an act of protest that started last year with former 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick. He's been unemployed this season. No NFL team has signed him. Earlier today, CBS reported that Kaepernick was willing to stand if given the opportunity to play, but that report was later withdrawn. It's not just football players joining the movement. Last night, a hockey player became the first person to protest during a regular season NHL game.
During the national anthem moments ago, Lightning forward J.T. Brown with a fist in the air.
J.T. Brown says he wanted to bring awareness to racial inequality and police brutality. Brown is one of roughly 30 black players in the NHL. Movie mogul Harvey Weinstein is out of a job over allegations of rampant sexual harassment. The Weinstein Company Board of Directors announced tonight he's been fired effective immediately after they say new information about his conduct was revealed. It's a hard fall for the Hollywood heavyweight who was just dumped by a key advisor.
You know, a lot of men who grew up in his generation grew up with a whole different mentality towards women. And as I've said to him, Harvey, that may be, but it's not an excuse. He says the same thing himself. Times have changed. It's 2017. You know, Harvey's a dinosaur in certain ways. He doesn't know how to work his iPad very well.
That was lawyer Lisa Bloom before announcing on Twitter that she had resigned from Weinstein's service. She quit after being criticized for sticking by him. Previously, she represented women who brought sexual misconduct claims against Bill Cosby and Fox News host Bill O'Reilly. To the surprise of some, Donald Trump also weighed in on the Weinstein affair.
I've known Harvey Weinstein for a long time. I'm not at all surprised to see it.
Trump shared his assessment on the one-year anniversary of the Washington Post leaking the infamous bus video showing Donald Trump making vulgar and sexually explicit comments about women to Access Hollywood host Billy Bush. Coming up, a gay rights group pleads with Canada to shelter more Chechens under threat from a violent government crackdown.
The hatred and the acts of violence are emanating as well from family members, from neighbors.
Plus, in rural Saskatchewan, French language rights are at odds with public safety. Well, what a politically volatile week in Spain. Last Sunday's referendum on Catalonian sovereignty has inflamed separatist ambitions in a region that has endured an uneasy marriage with the rest of the country for centuries. But with a possible declaration of independence just days away, not everyone wants to break away. Margaret Evans reports from Catalonia tonight.
If the Catalan dream of independence could be captured in human form, it might just look like this. Ethereal, dancing behind a dazzling sun. But on the ground, raw, determined, and intense. You can't get much more Catalonian than a Sunday spent watching the Castellas, human towers built on the backs of a collective will. Many in this crowd want the Catalan parliament to declare independence from Spain this week.
I think they should. I mean, we've tried everything to speak with the central government, to negotiate, and, well, they don't want to.
But Catalan nationalism doesn't necessarily come hand in hand with secessionist hopes.
I'm not in favor of one flag or another flag. For me, the important thing is that people could vote to decide what they want.
The decision by a Spanish court to declare the referendum illegal is what rankles for many, whether they're separatists or not.
This is about the sixth tower we've seen going up. The crowd is enraptured. The Catalan language and culture were banned during the long years of the dictatorship of General Franco, and it lasted until his death in 1975.
In another part of Barcelona today, in the center, a different type of nationalism swept through the city. The red and yellow of the Spanish flag waved in the air towards that same glinting sun. This was the chance for those opposed to separation to take to the streets.
In favor of unity, not about division. We are all from the same country.
Madrid has threatened to withdraw Catalonia's autonomy if regional leaders declare independence. Some 90% of those who voted in the referendum ticked that box, but less than half of eligible voters cast a ballot. The Spanish government sent in national police who confiscated ballot boxes and used heavy-handed tactics against voters. Pro-unity campaigners, including some who came from Madrid, accused separatist agitators of bullying those who support Spain into silence. And it's clear some native Catalonians are also angry with the separatists.
They have created a complete fantasy about their nation, about their history, about their reality.
One thing people on both sides of the debate seem to share is a deep unease over the precipice upon which they find themselves standing. The sense that things could easily turn nasty and upend what has been a very delicate balance. Margaret Evans, CBC News, Barcelona.
Another boat carrying asylum seekers from Myanmar has capsized off Bangladesh. At least 2 people have died, but officials don't know how many are still missing. In recent weeks, more than 500,000 Rohingya Muslims have fled violent persecution in Myanmar. Last month, 69 people died when the boats they were on capsized and sank. Problems are piling up for the federal inquiry into missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. 2 more high-level staffers are leaving their posts. And as Tegan Baudet reports, it's just the latest blow to a process mired in discontent.
The 2 resignations have added to a growing list of departures since the inquiry launched last summer.
We should be talking about perpetrators.
Grand Chief Sheila North Wilson leads Manitoba Kiiwetinowi Okimakanak, a group that advocates for 30 First Nations. She says the inquiry appears to be in crisis.
At this stage, we shouldn't be talking about the process of an inquiry. This is ridiculous already. We need to be talking about the real issues around missing and murdered Indigenous women, not about the process to find those answers. It's been over a year now, and we're still talking about the same thing.
The inquiry just named a new executive director, Assembly of First Nations advisor Debbie Reid. But as news came, so did the departures of Susan Vella, the Commission's lead lawyer, and Amy Kraft, the director of research. No reasons were given. The inquiry has already lost several key people, including its previous executive director and a commissioner. Some are calling for a complete reset of the inquiry. Sandra Delarond says families need the process to move faster.
They want the stories of their loved ones to be on record. So despite the broken process, they're prepared to go forward because this is our one chance for those stories to be told.
North Wilson says at the very least, the Prime Minister needs to appoint a new Chief Commissioner that families have confidence in.
If this was purely a PR stunt for this government, this Liberal government, to appease families calling for the inquiry, he's done an injustice. He's re-victimizing families. He needs to step in.
Inquiry commissioners gave no comment on the latest departures, and representatives for the Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations did not respond to our request for comment. The inquiry just wrapped hearings in BC, and next it will head to Winnipeg with a community hearing scheduled next week. Tegan Baudet, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Being gay in Chechnya makes you a target. For months, the government there has been reportedly rounding up those it suspects of homosexuality, imprisoning them, and torturing them. This week, Russian activists helped Chechen men escape, came to Toronto, where some have already found refuge. CBC's Greg Ross has more.
This type of violence towards members of the LGBTQ community has become common in Chechnya, especially since a government-led crackdown on homosexuality began in March. It's caught the attention of human rights organizations around the world.
The fact that the hatred and the acts of violence are emanating as well from family members, from neighbors, from community members, makes this very, very difficult to tackle.
Igor Kochetkov is part of an organization called the Russian LGBT Network. They help victims seek refuge in countries like Canada. He says these people need sanctuary to avoid this type of persecution, which is why it's important for Canada to open its borders. Kochetkov's organization puts those at risk in safe houses until they can secure safe passage out of the country. To date, the Russian LGBT network has helped more than 30 refugees relocate to Canada. But he says that's just the tip of the iceberg. They are still being persecuted and prosecuted, he says, so the flow of people into these safe houses is likely to continue. The Russian LGBT network works closely with a group called Rainbow Railroad, which is based in Toronto.
Rainbow Railroad receives hundreds of requests now from all over the world of people facing real-time dangerous situations.
Kamali Powell says his organization has been tracking this issue all over the world, and their work has even caught the attention of the Prime Minister.
We will continue to work with the UN Refugee Agency, including international nonprofit organizations like Rainbow Road.
The Trudeau government quietly expedited the immigration process for refugees that Powell's group has helped bring to Canada, the first of whom arrived this past June. But Powell believes the government can do so much more to support this process. He says Rainbow Railroad currently doesn't get any funding from the government, and he says there are some policies that need to be changed.
Our policy still limits the amount of people that can enter the country, and so the next phase is having conversations with various ministries.
In the meantime, the Russian LGBT network says there are still dozens of people hiding out in safe houses in Chechnya seeking asylum to countries like Canada. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
Straight ahead, francophones in rural Saskatchewan are dealt a tough choice by the RCMP.
Basically, it's a very simple device. In the road, there's a single cable buried, and through this cable we pass a current. Now, the current, of course, passing through the cable gives rise to a magnetic field about the cable. On the front of the vehicle there are two coils, one on each side, and these sense the magnetic field coming from the cable. So what we do then is just to make sure that each coil is spaced exactly the same distance from the cable, and the car is therefore sitting squarely over the top of the cable. And this is done by sensing the change in the field of the coils. This information is passed into the car, into the electronic system, which decides how much off balance there is. Having decided on this, it passes an instruction to the steering column, and the steering column then operates to get rid of the imbalance in the system. The speed is regulated by controlling the frequency of the engine. In other words, you know that at a certain frequency of revolution, the car will be doing a certain number of miles an hour quite precisely. And so we have a very simple electronic device which you can set to your particular speed. This then checks the number of revolutions and again feeds back to a little loop and keeps those revolutions at that level, and the car therefore travels at that level.
There is one overwhelming fact that will shape the city of the 1980s. It is, of course, energy. The increasing price of energy will lead to changes in population density and in transportation patterns. Energy will increasingly determine where buildings are built and how they're built. While there will be new designs to meet the demands of energy conservation, the city of the 1980s will probably not look all that different from the city of the 60s and 70s. In fact, the need to conserve resources may mean a decade in which the city reflects the past as much as the future. The city in the past 2 decades was marked by an exodus. People moved away into the suburbs. The indications are this will change in the 1980s. Rising energy costs will make it expensive and inconvenient for people to live in sprawling suburbs. The need for higher density living will change the core of the city. Where there has been a boom in building offices, there will now be a boom building homes. Space in cities will not be wasted.
The big city centers will be building much more on the land that they have available, which is well serviced, of which there's quite a substantial amount.
1980s then may see the end of urban sprawl. Cities will contract, more people in less space. For some, that's a vision of an urban hell, but others see a hopeful side.
From a social point of view, it's great.
Cleanup is underway in the southern U.S. after Hurricane Nate roared through. Nate made landfall east of New Orleans last night as a Category 1 hurricane and quickly lost steam over land. Still, it left considerable damage in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. No deaths or injuries have been reported. Environment Canada says Nate's remnants could dump as much as 40 millimeters of rain on parts of southern Ontario by tomorrow. In Quebec, provincial police and its major crimes unit are investigating a house fire that killed a mother and her 2 babies. A 37-year-old woman and her 1-year-old twin girls were inside the home on the Gaspé Peninsula when it was engulfed by flames early this morning. All 3 were taken to hospital but were later pronounced dead. The fire also prompted the evacuation of nearby homes. The RCMP is struggling with a shortage of officers, raising concerns about public safety across the country. And the problem is so acute that despite its mandate to provide bilingual service, one town in Saskatchewan, which is largely French, has been given an ultimatum. Bonnie Allen explains.
The quaint community of Gravelbourg advertises itself as a touch of Europe on the prairies. An early French settlement 200 kilometers southwest of Regina, there's even a Café de Paris on Main Street. 1 in 5 people identify as Francophone, so by law, the RCMP must provide service here in both English and French. But of 4 bilingual police positions, 3 have been vacant for months. The 4th bilingual officer is pregnant and restricted to office duties. So that leaves just 1 officer, an Anglophone, who can respond to calls in a rural area that spans 100 kilometers north to south.
Because it was designated bilingual, they have to try and fill those positions as bilingual. And because they had nobody, so that's why we were down members.
In a telephone interview, the RCMP confirmed it cannot find enough bilingual officers. Last month, the police force gave the town an ultimatum: accept English-speaking officers who will take French lessons, or no officers.
It's not a decision we took lightly because we are known as a bilingual community.
But the mayor says public safety trumps minority language rights.
We felt it was important for the safety of the community and the surrounding community that we get our members back up to full force.
Town councillor Michel Vezina resigned over the issue.
C'est toujours difficile d'avoir un service en français.
He says Francophones have fought hard to get services in French, and he doesn't want to lose ground.
C'est certain, c'est un brim de leurs droits.
The president of the local Francophone Association says it's a violation of their rights. Both Michel Vezina and Maria Lepage have filed complaints with the Office of the Official Languages Commissioner in Ottawa. It has launched an investigation. It must determine whether the RCMP is still fulfilling its federally regulated obligation to provide service in both English and French. Bonnie Allen, CBC News, Regina.
A 16-year-old American has flown into the hearts of gymnastic fans. A virtual unknown captured the all-round title at the World Championships in Montreal. But at least Morgan Hurd left a silver lining for a Canadian. The CBC's Simon Nakonechny has the story.
On the heels of a silver medal in the all-around competition, expectations were high for Canada's Ellie Black. But the 22-year-old from Halifax had a disappointing day, finishing 8th on the balance beam and 7th in the floor exercises.
It was incredible to have the opportunity to compete in that many finals here at a Worlds at home. You know, that was just amazing.
Representing the United States of America.
But it was an American phenom who was soaking up much of the spotlight. 16-year-old Morgan Hurd had a breakout championship, winning the all-around. At the start of the week, few knew her name. But by the end, the girl from Delaware had some famous new fans, including J.K. Rowling.
Oh my God, when I found out, I started crying, like there were literal tears streaming down my face. I just love her so much as an author.
But Hurd also got high marks for something else.
Why do you wear glasses?
Other than I'm blind, contacts kind of just like dry out my eyes, and I have to waste practice time taking them in and out.
In the sparkly world of women's gymnastics, she's seen as a breath of fresh air.
It makes me feel like I can do it when I'm older. It just matters how much effort and hard work you put into at the gym.
But Hurd also found a fan in someone who stole the spotlight in the same city 41 years ago. 14-year-old Nadia Comaneci was the star of the '76 Olympics, with her unprecedented perfect scores.
I talked to her yesterday because she had mentioned that she played me on a 3rd grade. She dresses me. So it's really nice to see that after so many generations that something like that is motivating the young ones.
It's hard to compare Morgan Hurd's good week in Montreal with the legend of Nadia Comaneci. But like her idol, the American teen captured gold seemingly from out of nowhere by being the best. She also captured fans' hearts by just being herself. Simon Nakonechny, CBC News, Montreal.
When we come back, Ukrainian journalists on the trail of their colleague's killer.
I'm Terence McKenna in Kiev, Ukraine, with the story of a journalist's murder and his colleagues' campaign to solve the crime. Pavel Sheremet was one of Ukraine's most famous broadcasters.
Чувствую ли я себя здесь в какой-то опасности? Нет, конечно.
As he was driving to work one morning last July, his car blew up. The authorities made little progress in the murder case, but his journalist friends did their own investigation and made some startling discoveries.
The oldest camera in the world. And this, the oldest existing photograph, taken in 1826. Then in 1851, a new process came along. A glass plate had to be meticulously cleaned. It was then coated with collodion to form a thin, even film on the glass. It was a cumbersome method, but the glass gave clear, sharp negatives and unlimited prints on paper.
With me now is the promotion manager for Black Camera Chain.
This is the Kodak Instamatic. You just simply flip the back like so, open it up, and I'll let you take it from there.
I will now play the part of the child. If I can operate as a child can, and that will show you how easy it all is to do.
I knew if I said that it would come out backwards, and it did. Now that's the roll of film. Just
eat it, turn it around, and Zappo.
Want to take an indoor picture?
Yes,
you
I
pop
do.
On a cube?
Yes, a cube. Now, and then I just push that and I got a picture.
That's it.
All right, stand back, everybody.
Nope.
Well, hey, folks, it works.
One of the keys to taking good pictures is the size of your film. The larger the negative, the better chance you'll get sharp results. That's the knock against the disc cameras. They're easy to use and inexpensive. But if you plan to get any of your pictures enlarged, the tiny negatives in disc film are a real liability.
This new film method comes complete with its own lens and shutter. It slips easily into a pocket and it can be developed in the usual way. Until now, camera companies were in a race to produce the most portable and the cheapest of the instant filmless cameras. And the announcement by the Japanese Fuji Group is a major leap forward.
This is when you hook to your computer. Looks like a telephone. It's a camera, it'll hold 32 images in electronic memory. Then you can transfer them to your computer.
Can you take my picture with us?
Be glad to. All right, ready?
Smile for the computer?
Smile for the computer. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
And once they're in the computer, can you print them on your printer?
You can print them on your printer. You can put them, say, into a publishing program if you want to include them in a newsletter.
Ooh, this is exciting. I look pretty darn stupid there. How much is this job?
This one's $800.
Okay.
Modern photographers can work with precision because of the technical advances of the late 19th century. But the mystery and magic of photography remains in the way silver crystals gather together after being exposed to light.
More than 100 journalists died in 2016 for simply doing their jobs. The circumstances are sometimes shady. In fact, in some cases, the victims' own governments have been implicated. And this is the story of one of them. In July 2016, broadcaster Pavel Sheremet was killed when his car suddenly exploded in Kiev, Ukraine. Authorities have done little to solve the crime, and if it ever is, it will be because of the dogged work of his colleagues. Here's the CBC's Terence McKenna with what those journalists uncovered when they began investigating killing Pavel.
On July 20th, 2016, Pavel Sheremet left his Kiev apartment building at 7:40 a.m., as he did almost every day. He climbed into his red Subaru. He was making his way to the radio station where he hosted a popular political radio show. 4 minutes later, as you can see from this security camera video, he pulled into an intersection a block from his house, and his car exploded. Pavel was killed. Firemen rushed to the scene to extinguish the flames. The event shocked the nation.
A well-known journalist in Ukraine has been killed by a car bomb in the
Pavel Sheremet had just got into the vehicle and started
Ukrainian
his
President
work.
Petro Poroshenko vowed to track down Pavel's killers and bring them to justice.
Я вимагаю створення оперативної групи.
National Police Chief Katya Dekanoidze was assigned to lead the investigation.
Я уверена, что версия будет, потому что это очень важно делать чести для полиции Украины. Сейчас вот открыть это дело.
So the Ukrainian authorities said it was a matter of honor to solve the murder of journalist Pavel Sheremet at this Kiev intersection in July 2016. If that is so, the performance of the police and government officials on this file has been somewhat less than honorable. After a lackluster one-year investigation, they still have no idea who wanted him dead or why. Because of Pavel's work, however, there are colleagues determined to find out what happened. Pavel Sheremet was born in the Soviet Union in what is now Belarus. In the 1990s, he rose to fame as a journalist and dissident, leading him to being beaten and jailed by authorities.
Ладно, давайте еще раз. Нажимай. С нуля.
He was a star on Russian television, but was driven out by the Putin regime. He became a well-known host in Ukrainian morning radio and developed a school that taught and mentored young journalists.
Чувствую ли я себя здесь в какой-то опасности? Нет, конечно.
Because many political murders go unsolved in Ukraine, Pavel's journalist friends had no faith that the police would get to the bottom of the crime.
For example, this camera is going to this office.
They set out on their own investigation, led by Anna Babinets and Dmytro Ganap.
At the same time, Kyiv dwellers...
They felt a sense of obligation to Pavel Sheremet and a duty to stand up to his killers.
So for people like Dima, like me, like a lot of journalists in Ukraine who worked as investigators, it's like a message, just stop doing your work.
Not Ukrainian authorities, no Ukrainian police or law enforcers or secret services cannot protect us. We reporters, we can count just on ourselves.
When we started our own investigation, it's for us now it's a way of protecting ourselves.
So if the murderers are trying to send you a message, you're trying to send a message back?
That we are not afraid. We are not afraid.
The journalist went around Pavel's neighborhood gathering the video from CCTV security cameras.
Можна у вас взяти відео з цих камер спостереження? Ми просто розслідуємо загибель нашого колеги Павла Шеремета.
And began to track down witnesses. They seemed to make far more progress than the police. Early in their search, they found these blurry infrared images of two shadowy figures moving through Pavel's neighborhood on the night before the crime. One is a woman, the other a man. The man takes up a position to keep watch on one side of the street, while the woman seems to kneel down beside Pavel's car, likely placing a magnetic bomb directly below the driver's seat. The two later leave the neighborhood together. While police released some of these grainy images in which the couple is unrecognizable, the journalists were able to track the suspects on other cameras for a full kilometer to a spot where they passed a much better quality camera. In this color image, you can see that the man is wearing a black hoodie with a distinctive logo on the back. From the actual security camera video on the morning of the murder, just as Pavel drives by, a man in a similar hoodie is seen crossing the street just behind his car. On that morning, there is a mysterious woman who takes up a position halfway between Pavel's home and the nearby intersection. At 7:45 a.m., shortly after Pavel's car drives by and explodes, the woman is seen rushing away from the scene of the crime. The journalists suspect it was she who triggered the remote control bomb. In their search for other significant video from the night before the murder, the journalists focused on a gray Skoda sedan that was parked up the street from Pavel's home. The car stays there for hours, with various men coming and going from it. Once again, the video quality is poor, so the license plate was illegible. For assistance, Pavel's friends reached out to an international journalism collective called Bellingcat. A member of the team in Germany named Timmy led the video analysis. He invited journalists to his home to examine the results.
For me, the problem was calculate out the noise.
Before processing the raw video, only a few digits were legible.
Okay, we can see AA. And M and O. What you nice see is a noise of the camera sensor, and from many frames we can calculate this out. I create single frames from video with only the part with the car.
He said he took 500 individual frames and stacked them on top of each other. Within each of those frames, he calculated minimum and maximum values of brightness and contrast.
How many hours did you spend on this?
Hours? For 500 frames, I think days.
How many days?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Wow.
Okay, for the result, we take the pictures, the frames from video, and we cut it and we put it in stack, and the result for this process was this picture. We can clearly read AA 2551 M and O.
Back in Kiev, journalists used a source with access to a Ukrainian automobile database to identify the owner of the Skoda. It traced back to a woman named Natalia Zaretska. The journalist contacted Natalia Zaretska.
Алло, Наталя? День добрий, мене звати Дмитро Гнап.
At first, she denied ownership of the car. Then they went to her house with a hidden camera. Finally, confronted with the documents, she admitted to signing the registration to hide the identity of the real owner. She eventually provided contacts for the car's true owner, a man named Igor, who agreed to meet with the journalist.
Приветствую. Вы на Шкоде, да? О, отлично, да.
Igor even brought along the Skoda.
Совпало. Я вам уверяю, что вот это ничего не хочется. Вот машина, там мы это самое.
They showed him the video.
Ну вот человек с такой сумкой через вот здесь, через плечо получается. Это вы?
Это я, по всей видимости. По всей видимости.
Ну, вы пам'ятаєте, що ви там робили?
Давайте, чтобы не это самое. Да, это было, я же уже говорил. Это была такая работа, что это частные услуги оказать. То есть там несовершенные дети. Здесь оказывают какие-то частные услуги. Не более.
Igor claimed he was there that night as a private investigator providing security for someone's children. He wouldn't identify the client. He claimed he knew nothing about the murder.
I was pretty angry after our meeting with him because I felt as journalists like he got more information than we got. He got almost everything we have, and we just got some stupid jokes. We knew that he's not so stupid, like he tried to pretend.
The journalists began to suspect that Igor might actually have been working for the Ukrainian government's security service. They contacted a confidential source with inside knowledge. And sure enough, they were given information that Igor did once work for the spy agency. Igor, full name Igor Andreyevich Ustimenko, was born in Kremenchuk, Ukraine. He possesses a passport from Crimea, the region unilaterally annexed by Russia. He studied at an anti-rocket command school and has a listed address in Odessa, Ukraine. Documents showed he was working for the security service until at least 2014. After months of trying, journalist Anna Babinets was finally able to get Igor on the phone one last time.
Алло, пане Ігоре?
Так.
Доброго дня, це Анна, журналістка. Ми з вами бачились пару місяців тому, пам'ятаєте?
Ну, ви з хрещенням ви хочете мене поздравити.
Так, і хочу спитати, чи ви будь-коли працювали у Службі безпеки України?
Що ви до сих пор працюєте? Жизни вам, здоров'я, желаю всіх успіхів, всім окружаючим, родним, особливо близьким. Всього доброго.
Скажіть, чи ви працювали будь-коли в СБУ? Алло? Алло, чуєте мене? It was about our colleague. It was about murder, about serious things, and he just he joked, and because of it, after we finished, I was angry that we couldn't made him to answer frankly.
The information about Igor was passed on to the police investigating the case, but they quickly cleared him. Pressed for details, the police told the journalists that they had asked Igor if he was involved in the murder, and he assured them he was not. When we come back, why would someone want to kill Pavel Sheremet?
The daily workouts were pure show business. First, an exhibition of speed and condition. And then, on the last day of training, he put on a surprise performance.
Now, who's the champ of Canada, too? Who's the heavyweight champ of Canada? How many Americans in here? All right. What other countries do we have in here? England? How many from England? Who? Israel. Israel? Yeah. Am I the champ in Israel? I'm not the champ in Israel? All right. So there ain't but one of you in here. You better be good. I don't want no smart stuff now. Can anybody just take my title out of the ring? Would you ever settle for that? No, right? No. All right, that's all. You can go now. All of you who bought pictures, I'm going to put my name on it for you. Take time and autograph all your pictures. And because this will be worth about $10,000 in another 2 years. The people here in Canada, I've never been treated so nice in my life. I haven't had no people making wisecracks. Everybody's friendly. The children, the waitresses, the hotel managers, the policemen, everybody's as nice as they can be. And it's a lot different from where I come from.
I'm Lloyd Robertson at Control Central in Winnipeg, introducing our CBC television coverage of the 1967 Pan American Games.
And we are having another one of the intermittent showers that have been on and off all afternoon here in Winnipeg. However, the spunky Duke of Edinburgh is nonetheless traveling in an open car and is now halfway around the track. He is going to be officially opening these games. And those well-formed lines are obviously falling apart all over the place. A well-organized parade up to this point, but now it's been impossible to keep these lines in order during the rain. Nonetheless, some of them are stalwartly carrying on. The delegation from the Netherlands Antilles.
His Royal Highness looking up skyward a little bit, and he gets very little encouragement from there because there's an immense black cloud parked right over the top of Winnipeg's stadium. Funnily enough, Lloyd, I don't know, maybe this augurs well, but the rain stopped as Canada came by.
Right, the rain is stopping, and the weather has contributed to an air of conviviality.
The little bit of sun is beginning to sneak through.
I have the great pleasure and honor to declare the 5th Pan American Games open.
You better hide your secret cigarette.
You better hide your secret whiskey, poker chip, cigar in the bedroom, negative.
I only read for article.
CBC Music presents the Canadian Music Class Challenge. Teachers, go to cbcmusic.ca/music class and upload your students playing a selected song to enter.
Why would someone want to kill journalist Pavel Sheremet? In addition to his radio and TV work, he wrote for Ukraine's leading investigative news outlet, Ukrainska Pravda, that is strongly critical of governments. The site is owned by his widow, Olena Pritula. Sevgil Musayeva-Borovek is the editor-in-chief. Today in the Ukrainska Pravda offices, they are frustrated by the lack of progress in the official police investigation.
І зараз, коли є таке мовчання з боку влади, то це викликає дивні думки стосовно того, чому так виходить, чому вони намагаються це замовчати.
In the view of the journalists, this case began to resemble a horrible incident from the past at Ukrainska Pravda. Another prominent broadcaster named Georgy Gongadze was the co-founder of that news site. Gongadze was murdered in the year 2000.
Відрізання голови від тіла.
Я просто дійсно обіцяю, бо вже дав відповідні доручення.
The investigation showed that the Ukrainian government was involved. Recordings believed to be of the former president Leonid Kuchma capture him ordering Gongadze to be kidnapped or worse. On the same tapes, the former interior minister was heard confirming that Gongadze was under surveillance. 3 policemen and an interior ministry official were eventually convicted for the killing, but no one has been brought to justice for ordering Gongadze's murder. Is history repeating itself?
During many years, Ukrainian police officers have been linked with murders, tortures, kidnappings, also against Ukrainian reporters. This is a absolutely general practice of our life.
So you personally kind of didn't trust the police?
We cannot exclude it. We cannot exclude that police could be linked with this murder, with execution of this murder.
Again, there is evidence that the journalists of Ukrainska Pravda were under surveillance before the crime was committed. Documents were mailed to them anonymously.
Власне, стало зрозуміло, що хтось слідкує за роботою «Української правди» і слідкує достатньо уважно, оскільки вони були навіть і про ті теми, які ми так і не встигли зробити. Але здебільшого це було повідомлення у Фейсбуці, це були телефонні розмови, власне, які робилися з номеру, і це також були повідомлення у Viber.
Who was conducting this surveillance?
Моя власна думка, що це робила Служба безпеки України. І джерела мої, які працюють навколо адміністрації президента, а також у правоохоронних органах, кажуть, що, власне, це є аналітичні записки, які готує Служба безпеки України.
On February 8th, 7 months after Pavel's murder, the Minister of Interior held a press conference. He announced that the government believed Pavel was murdered because of his work. The minister denied that anyone at Ukrainska Pravda had been under government surveillance.
Мы получили от Службы безопасности Украины ответ, что в результате проведенной у них проверки такого слежения не было. Такой слежки не было и в национальной полиции.
Police surveillance of journalists is a regular occurrence in Ukraine.
Ukrainian politicians and law enforcement officers every time deny every suspicious things. This is a common practice. But every time they will lie about this. They will deny it.
I'm sure your friends ask you, who do you think did this? Why was this done? Why was he killed?
Pavel's murdering, that was not random shooting or random stabbing on the street. That was very well organized, very well planned, and very well executed.
People who never did it, I don't think that they can do that. Maybe it's people from security service of Belarus, of Russia, of Ukraine. I think that it was prepared by people who worked or still work for security service. But what country? It's the main question.
Three days after the bombing, Pavel Sheremet was laid to rest in his home country of Belarus. The police in Ukraine seem no closer to finding his murderers than they were at that time. At the Kiev intersection where he was killed, there is still a small private memorial that is carefully maintained.
Павло був так вплетений у життя редакції, що іноді відчувається навіть це пусте місце, яке заповнював його сміх, або його якісь жарти, або його надзвичайна міміка. І, власне, цей простір, відчуваєш таку пустоту, але ніхто не може заповнити.
That documentary was produced by the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project and Ukrainian Public Television. Stay with us. There's more ahead on The National.
This is Niagara Falls, and if you've noticed a little more foam at its base lately, perhaps it's mainly because of the beer. Beer that's being dumped by the caseload into the custom shed washroom upriver at Fort Erie.
They are bringing more beer than usual on account of the beer strike in Ontario.
One Hamilton man who shuffled off to Buffalo to pick up a couple of six-packs got his comeuppance, but at least he, unlike many others, was able to kiss his beer goodbye.
A Canadian beer drinking tradition is disappearing fast, and the first place they're feeling it is in the Maritimes. What's vanishing are those squat and stubby dark brown bottles.
The Canadian brewery industry has spent millions of dollars to make the change to long-necked bottles, and part of that cost is a result of scenes like this. There's no doubt that Cape Bretoners have done their part to support the brewery industry, and some wonder why the beer couldn't have found its way to a charitable cause. It's a beer drinker's lament. 700 cases of supposedly good brew down the drain, so to speak.
Brewers say the change was inevitable. Light beer has become popular, and American beer and twist-off caps.
I find when you're drinking out of it that it foams up more.
But most beer drinkers have adjusted.
Oh, as long as the beer is still there.
Specialty brewers are on the hop these days, rushing to cash in on more relaxed liquor laws.
Now that Canadian liquor laws are changing, new breweries are springing up all over. There's one in the back of this pub in Kingston, Ontario. But the idea of drinking the stuff that's made in the back room is catching on.
It's got a hell of a lot more body than Canadian beer, I'll tell you that.
It's very smooth, it's very easy to drink.
Okay, Ernie, if you could picture yeast there. Yeah.
Bernie Knudsen has been coming to this so-called U-Brew store for about 3 years. It's easy and it's cheap. Making your own beer and wine in British Columbia is virtually tax-free. You can brew a dozen bottles here for about $10. Buying it at the liquor store would cost $15.
For the working men, yes, it's a working people, the working class people, it's a way better deal.
Most hours have 60 minutes. This hour has 7 days. Tonight, Ralph Nader charges the Detroit car companies with running risks that can't hurt them, but do hurt us.
I could give an example of the Buick Roadmaster in 1953. The one with power brakes came onto the market, many thousands of them, with a defective braking system. Now,
you mean in the 53 Buick Roadmaster,
with power
a driver
brakes.
would literally go from normal brakes to no brakes, like
That's
that?
right, that's right. This is documented in court records, which is very interesting. It shows you that the only way we find out about these things is through the cumbrous process of the judicial system. So what you want to do is make an overwhelming systematic case to overcome the resistance of industry. The stronger a case you make, the more scientists you have working on the project on an independent, objective basis, the more overpowering the forces of humane automotive technology will be.
I was the wrestling champion of the world.
And he's the best in the world at what he does.
Until I lost it all.
You got fired from wrestling, right?
Now I'm starting over and I'm
free at last!
And I'm gonna be the greatest actor of all time.
I want to study the craft of acting.
If I can get you waiting tables, you'll really be an actor.
Agent is a jackass.
Let's see what you got.
Prepare for glory!
Told you he has brain damage.
No, I don't have brain damage.
But I'm Chris Jericho.
And before we go, here is another look at our top story. Donald Trump is sowing apprehension with vague hints of what he has in mind for North Korea. He's also signaling that Iran will suffer his wrath.
I believe they're funding North Korea. I believe they're trading with North Korea. You will see what I will be doing in the not-too-distant future.
Closer to home, the president's displeasure prompted much quicker action at an NFL game in Indianapolis. Vice President Mike Pence left the game after about a dozen players took a knee during the national anthem to protest racial inequality. Trump later tweeted that Pence was acting on his instructions. He sees the protests as an insult to the anthem, the flag, and to U.S. soldiers. All right, that is the National for this Sunday night. For more news at any time, you can always go to cbcnews.ca. I'm Susan Ormiston. Have a happy Thanksgiving.